Welcome to Female Fluence. We are a place of women empowering women. This is a safe environment where females are not judged nor afraid to flourish. My goal is to help you live an energized life of balance, whether as a mom, a wife, or in your profession. It is time to have self-worth and self-compassion. Live in the present moment and surround yourself with only healthy connections. So join me, Pearl Shua, a woman empowerment life coach, an educator, and a mother of three, to help take you on a journey of true identity and inspiration. Desiring love is a shared experience, and it can be challenging when you struggle to find it. If you have difficulty finding or maintaining love, it may be helpful to accept your desire, explore the root of your challenges, and seek new ways to connect with people. Reflecting on a healthy relationship and understanding your needs can guide you. After a painful breakup or divorce, taking time to heal and address past wounds is crucial. This self-work not only helps you move forward, but also prepares you to build a fulfilling and healthy relationship in the future. Today, we have Naomie Thompson, a dating and relationship coach, as my guest. With a deep passion for transforming lives, Naomie specializes in helping accomplished women discover and nurture extraordinary love. She brings unique insights into relationships, whether you want to deepen existing connections or attract new fulfilling partnerships. Her expertise will equip us with valuable tools and wisdom for overcoming common challenges faced by successful women in their love lives. Her holistic and empowering approach addresses everything from fostering emotional intimacy to balancing professional success with personal fulfillment. Naomie teaches the transformative power of embracing vulnerability and how communicating openly can actually cultivate the calm, loving connections we all desire. Naomie, it's a pleasure to have you from the UK. I really appreciate it on Female Fluence. Thank you for being on my show today.
It's an absolute honor. And yeah, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's start. Let's start by getting to know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what made you become a dating and relationship coach.
Yeah, so I am a dating and relationship coach, and I work with women, and I became a coach because I needed a coach. I needed me. The coach I am now is the coach that I needed way back when my marriage exploded and it became incredibly painful, and I did some fast track learning. And what I started learning just was like a paradigm shift for me. And it just set me free, I suppose, is the best thing I could say. It set me free to kind of really have the love that I deeply wanted. And also, I just grew so much as a person. I learned so much that I just thought, every woman who wants this work needs to be able to have this work. I want to share it. And suddenly I had a complete career change. And then here I am.
How
And
long were you married?
I was married 17 years.
Okay. That's hard. What life transitions impacted the person you are today? I mean, besides your divorce, would you say that divorce was the major thing? I think you had mentioned there's another situation in your life, right?
Absolutely what happened in my marriage, and I'm really open about it because as women and all people, we go through such painful experiences, and when we're going through them it can feel so lonely, like I'm alone dealing with this awful thing. But my husband was unfaithful, and gosh, it's so common. So many women listening will have experienced this, and when it's happening it feels like your world just falls apart. I mean, I felt like I was made of glass and I'd shattered into a million pieces,
Right.
and the ground beneath my feet was just turned into the ocean. It wasn't steady anymore. I didn't know what I could believe and rely on. But what started to happen, Pearl, is like, as all those pieces started landing, I started to feel different. I started to feel different in my skin. And, you know, when I looked at the woman in the mirror, and anyone listening who is going through the pain of discovering of infidelity, look at yourself in the mirror. Look at that woman who is going through that pain. Look at that brave, courageous, amazing woman. And that's what I did. I used to look in the mirror and go, oh my God, who are you? Who are you getting through this? And also, you know, it's in those situations in life, like where I was, I had a choice. I could go through life guarding my heart, not trusting men, being hypervigilant. Are they going to let me down? Are they going to
Mm-hmm.
betray me? Or I could learn how to trust myself to be okay no matter what happens in life. You know, I could grow as a human
Yeah,
and as a woman because, you know, we're powerless over people. We're powerless over what people do.
exactly.
So those kind of times in our lives are the times where we choose, we grow or we don't.
Crumble, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Was
yeah,
there
yeah.
what could you remember that like there was a moment when you were, as you were saying, looking in the mirror, when you looked in the mirror and finally you saw somebody different. You felt that shift, the growth, right? And you felt stronger than you could ever possibly imagine yourself.
I think it was in the depths of the shock and the pain. You know, when your body's kind of vibrating,
Mhm.
your body's tingling, your heart's pounding. It's like your nervous system just goes crazy. And, you know, I just remember just being in the bathroom, washing my hands, looking around in the mirror and just stopping and just that moment of going, you can do this. And I probably said something like that to myself. You can do this. You're doing amazing. It was something. And just, you know, having the validation of the woman in the mirror was what I needed.
Yes. Yeah.
My friends could, our friends can tell us and, you know, be there and cheerlead. But deep down, sometimes we don't believe it.
Right.
But when you hear it from the woman in the mirror,
Yes. That's more
something different
powerful
happens.
than anything. I don't know if
Yeah.
you're familiar with Mel Robbins, but I love her. And I completely love the concept of giving yourself a high five in the mirror every morning. So I have made that a habit. I've even made like a little tiny sticker where I do my makeup. So it's like a constant reminder. And just having that, like, hey, I'm doing great. Like it's another day. I accomplished this, or today I'm going to do this, and just feeling really empowered. So the mirror is really powerful because you see you. And a lot of times we go through life and we never see ourselves. Right. So that's the key.
Yeah. It's being you, your own best friend, and being your biggest cheerleader
Yes.
is like just so key. And you know, we can do the opposite. And I believe, you know, some people harm themselves physically, but I believe there's a whole lot more self-harm that goes on inside our heads.
Mentally, yes. Yeah.
Mental
So
self-harm
true.
by the way we speak about ourselves, the way we put ourselves down, and you know, even sort of jokingly putting ourselves down with our friends. You know, I believe our subconscious doesn't know the difference
Yes.
between what we mean and what we, you know, what's true and what isn't. And so if we're speaking badly about ourselves, you know, we're not having our own back.
Yes. Yeah, it's very true. Now, why do you think a lot of people keep choosing the same unfulfilling relationships? Is it because, like, we're talking about the self-sabotage or limiting beliefs that, a person has, that they keep going after the same relationship that realistically it's not going to work, but they just follow that same pattern over and over again?
Okay, we're talking fear of intimacy here. So, you know, I work with the idea that we all have a certain intimacy limit at any given moment, like a certain tolerance for the amount of intimacy that we can handle. And that will have come from our conditioning and our upbringing and everything we've experienced right up until right here and right now in our life. Okay, so what happens is we unconsciously choose partners who have that similar intimacy limit because they will feel safe on a certain level. So if I can handle like this close of intimacy, then I will choose a partner who can handle this much of intimacy. Because if someone is more intimacy tolerant than me, I'm just gonna
You feel
want to pull away
claustrophobic,
from them.
right? Yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
need personal space, right?
Yeah, that's what I hear women say. Oh my God, I need space. Oh, it's too overwhelming.
Yeah.
Or sabotaging thoughts like, oh, he's just too nice. He's a nice guy, but I just have no chemistry with him. Or he's more kind of like a friend. Or sometimes we'll find ourselves, finding fault with something about his looks. Oh, he's just got a funny way that he walks, and I just don't like that. He's not tall enough. And all of that is, to put it bluntly, is a fear of intimacy. And, I think so often we've blamed men for being intimacy avoidant, and some are. But I would say women are petrified. We're petrified of intimacy. We're petrified of being really vulnerable. Now, you meet someone who can only handle this much intimacy, you're going to feel safe on a deep level because they're not going to try and come closer and challenge the vulnerable feelings inside of you. So, but also what happens is if the gap gets wider, so say like you're dating someone and he's a bit hot and cold, he's hot and that's going to feel really good. When he goes cold, he's going to pull away. And then what happens is that intimacy gap's got wider. That's not going to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So what a woman will do is try and bridge that gap. She'll try and fill that gap. So she'll lean into him. She'll chase after him. Oh, hi, haven't spoken for ages. Is everything okay? Can we talk about this relationship? She'll chase him. And then when she pulls back, gets on with her life, does whatever, he's likely to come back too because he will feel that gap. But also, as I said before, what happens is when someone who is more intimacy tolerant starts coming towards you, then all of that reaction comes. And that's where you can step in with yourself or with a coach, with courses, with whatever, your books and learning. When you become more self-aware, when you up-level your tolerance for intimacy and feeling vulnerable. So really vulnerability here is key, and learning how to feel safe with being vulnerable, because more intimacy equals more vulnerability.
So true. A lot of us have that wall, and a lot of it has to do with childhood, past relationships, how we've been hurt. And so it's just so hard to be so real and vulnerable. Many of us are familiar with the five love languages. I actually have the whole series. I have the one for the children, the teenager, the couples, the marriage. It's the words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, and receiving gifts. But how many truly understand their love language? I feel like if everyone was kind of in tune and knew what their true love language was, it'd be really beneficial in a relationship. And how can expressing this with your partner actually deepen your connection? Because I mean, our partners are not mind readers. Your partner is bringing you roses, but instead you would have really loved like a hug. You want more touch, but he's just giving you gifts. And you're like, well, this is, if you kind of, or give me more time, I would appreciate that more. They don't know that. And then you keep getting disconnected.
Yeah, the five love languages are an incredible tool. And again, they're a great tool for self-awareness. The more self-aware you are, the more you understand yourself and what you deeply need, you're going to be more able to discern if a relationship is right for you or a situation. And especially when we look back at our exes, what we weren't happy about, what we wanted more of, what we complained about. For example, I always seemed to, when I did the five love languages quiz, my love languages, physical touch, words of affirmation, I always went for men who could not tell me they love me. Always. It's like from being a teenager. And my ex-husband, really not affectionate, just not affectionate at all, verbally or physically. So what was it in me? And that's where you can raise your self-awareness. You can go, well, what is it in me that's choosing that?
Right.
Again, we come back to this intimacy tolerance. If I choose someone who's very affectionate and verbally affectionate with me, I am going to feel more vulnerable. So knowing that about yourself is just an incredible tool to be able to discern the kind of partner, especially if you're dating, knowing that you can go, actually, I can even have this on my dating profile. What's important
Right.
to me, affection.
Yes.
And the other thing is it can really help you understand when you have had a lifetime of not having that love language met. What you can also do is, I asked myself and I said to myself, how nicely, how affectionately do I speak to myself? That I keep choosing these men who cannot speak lovingly to me. And as soon as I changed that in me, my ability to be able to receive it, my ability to be able to hear these loving words increased. And then now my partner is the most affectionate and verbally affectionate man I've ever
There
met.
you
But
go.
it took me doing that.
Yeah.
So, and then sharing that with your partner is wonderful, wonderful, because when so much anger, the anger that women feel is about their man not meeting their needs. Whereas when you can just communicate with warmth, I feel so special when you buy me flowers, or I just feel so loved every time you wrap your arms around me, then he knows he's winning. He's winning at making you happy, and that's what he wants to do. So I
Exactly.
love it.
So a lot of self-awareness, right, is important in order to make a relationship successful. You need to be aware of what's important to you and makes you feel good so you can communicate that with your partner. Now, Naomi, what are the three impactful tips that you want women to know? You're kind of on a mission to changing things around, right, in relationships and for women.
Yeah, I mean, the first tip I would say is know what you want. Even if you have been in a relationship for years or you are coming out of the divorce and you are newly dating, first off, what was it you dreamed of? What was it you really wanted when you were young? And then you felt you had to settle for something less because, or you settled for what your culture thought you should have, your family thought you should have, society thinks you should have. So know what you want, own up to your desire. And that would be the first one. And really, not just what do you want? I want a guy who's tall and well educated and earns well. Those are surface level
Right.
ones.
More
But
deep.
what about like, I want to feel safe and like I can just breathe out when I'm with him? How many women just want to breathe out? How many women want to let go of the reins of their life, of all of life, of everything? How many women want to stop holding up the world when they can just breathe out? That, if you make that your want, that's going to be far more powerful. The second, I would say, is really understand feminine energy and learn how to be in your feminine energy if you're a woman. So many, or you identify as a woman. And because so many of us women feel that we have to be in our masculine energy, which is the thinking, the problem solving, the strategizing, the doing, and the giving. We
Right.
nurture our children. That's masculine energy.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to do that. We've got to be good problem solvers and doers and with our kids. When we try and do that in relationships, offering him unsolicited advice, trying to solve his problems for him, chasing in the dating process, organizing the dates, telling him where to park, it's like we become like his mother and
Yeah.
he'll get turned off. Or a woman will just attract very passive feminine men that they'll just end up getting angry with. But so if a woman really wants that kind of masculine man who will cherish her feelings and lead a relationship, learn how to be in your feminine energy. And there's so much help out there to do that. And the third is really one of my favorite. Make the relationship you want the prize, not the man. even if you are married to the best man in the world, he's not the prize. The relationship you want is the prize.
Right.
And when a woman is making a man the prize, especially in early dating, she is going to be feeling urgent. It's going to be all about him. How can I be more so he likes me more? Or how can I change him to be more like the man that I want him to be? Our focus is all about him. And a man will feel that, and it
Mhm.
won't feel good for a woman. So if you make the relationship you want the prize, then you're not going to feel so attached to the guy if he's not right.
Right.
If the relationship I want is one where I want to be married, I want to have children, I want to feel safe in his love, like I know he's not going anywhere. He's just adores me. And I'm dating a man who is not sure what I want, blah, blah, bit non-committal. That's not going to work for me. But if I have made him the prize, I'm not going to want to let him go. I'm going to be trying to mold him, and I'll be waiting for a decade for him. I've seen so many women do that. Whereas you make the relationship you want the prize, you just keep moving towards it, and the right man will be there by your side, and you can leave behind everybody who doesn't want what you want or isn't aligned with you.
Right. Wow, those are some very insightful tools that you've given us. I loved every single one of them. And there's some that you never even think about, but once you acknowledge it, I'm like, you are so right on the spot. Like that's exactly how we do it the wrong way, right? Because we get obsessed about the man and not the relationship, and not actually understanding why we're together. And so he's going to feel that as well. Now, I know we've touched about this before, but do you think that self-love is really essential for truly loving another person?
Self-love is, I would say, to be really open-hearted to another person, which to me is kind of what love is. Love is in our actions, is in our responses to a person. It's in our interpretations of their actions. And there's so much of that in a relationship, that delicate dance, that if you are busy not loving yourself, if you are busy beating yourself up, if you are busy with that, then it's very hard to have a very open heart with somebody else. And also, you're going to be more reactionary. You're going to be more vigilant for criticism out there in the world. So your partner may say something to you, and then you're going to get triggered. So in a way, it's actually quite hard to receive love when you don't love yourself.
Right.
People say you can't be loved unless you love yourself. And I disagree with that. I believe you can be loved, but you may struggle to receive it and you may struggle to feel it.
Right. Right.
However, I don't believe we can fully love with a really open heart if we're busy hating ourselves.
It's very true. So true. Now we're going to change things a little bit and get a little spicy. Through your coaching, what insights have you gained about the differences in how men and women view sex?
Okay. So my feeling is there are not many women who can handle casual sex. And some women say, yeah, I can do that. And I'm fine. And I don't get attached. And I would say that women who say that may well have to shut down their feelings and their heart to be able to handle it. But because we get more hormonally attached, we produce more oxytocin than men do when we have sex. We do get attached. And to be honest with you, biologically, that makes sense. We need to attach, then to mate, and to feel safe enough to do the most vulnerable thing, which is carry a child, give birth to a child, and raise a child. So we are kind of busy getting attached. And when I know your question wasn't specifically about casual sex, but when we do start having casual sex,
Right.
we're in danger of getting hormonally and chemically attracted to someone who really may not be right for you, but our brains and our bodies are going to try and make them right. So, you know, for me, it's not a moral issue about when we have sex. I think it's just a woman has her own sovereign choice. It's her body, it's her choice. It's just to be aware, can I handle it? Can I handle having sex with him and not seeing him again and still keep my heart open? I
Yeah.
would say if a lot of women really dug deep on that, they couldn't. Whereas for men, they don't produce as much oxytocin. For men, when they have casual sex with someone they're not committed to or in love with, it can just be sex and they can just walk away in a whole different way. I remember a guy saying to me, he said, yeah, I was with this woman and I kind of realized she was using me for sex. Hurrah. He was fine with being used for sex. How many women would be okay with that? I mean, it made me laugh because it
Right.
highlighted it. Whereas in a loving relationship, a man will really feel so much love when he has sex with the woman he loves.
Right.
It really, really builds connection for him. It's a time where he can really just let go in a way and let go and experience a lot of intense feeling. If so many men are living more up in their head, and women are stereotypically the ones that are more emotionally connected, this is a time for a man to really experience that feeling state. And, you know, I believe there's a lot of truth when they say a man needs to make love to feel loved and a woman needs to feel loved to make love. And
Right.
so, you know, that there for me is a difference of when there's a committed relationship and there's some real love and care and versus when there isn't.
Right. I mean, there's the idea that men who know what they're doing make love to the brain first, right? And then suggest that emotional and intellectual connection is critical. Can you I mean, I guess you already kind of did what this means, right? And how it impacts intimacy, because that is so true. It's how the connection is there and how, as a woman, we view sex versus love and how a man does. So it's an
Yeah.
interesting
But
saying.
also, I would say in a relationship, you know, foreplay happens before the bedroom for a woman because, you know, the speaking her love language, you know,
Right. Yeah, we go
speaking her
back to
love
that.
language. It's like, does she feel cherished? Does she feel romanced? Does she feel like she is the her man's special woman? You know, there's there's no mistake why flowers are still enduringly romantic. You know, there's these delicate, fragrant, beautiful things, and it's almost like telling a woman she is delicate and special and fragrant and beautiful. So is she getting hugs and strokes throughout the day? Is she feeling heard and seen and cherished? You know, so yes, absolutely. I would say foreplay and turn on happens before the bedroom for a woman. If a woman is dating and a woman and man dating, it's little things like the man leading the dating process can be such a turn on for a woman. She may not be sat there feeling physically turned on, but what it does is it turns her on to him and to the idea of him, because if she feels that he's got that consistent strength, that providing energy, it makes a woman soften. And when a woman softens, she's going to be more sexually receptive.
Right.
So yes, I very much agree that it starts before the bedroom.
I totally agree with you. Now, why do you think some married women often struggle with intimacy and sex at different stages of their lives? I mean, do you have clients that come to you and talk to you about this after they've been married for a while, that things have changed for them? With the day-to-day things that we have to do, I mean, our brain is running through all the things we have to do, and it's so hard for us, like you're saying, to become soft and let go and just feel sexual, because it's like, oh gosh, your to-do list is just running all day long.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say there's various things at play. One is perimenopause and menopause for women. You know,
Yeah.
it's making sure women take care of themselves hormonally, whatever, you know, spiritually, exercise, all of those things. And also honoring the fact that her body is changing and there will be some changes. And so many other women are going through it as well. And there's so much help out there. Sometimes we can feel like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? I don't have the libido I did when I was 30.
Yeah.
But actually your body is different, but it doesn't mean you can't have that. And the other thing is how relationships lose their polarity. So when a relationship has lost its polarity, a woman is not feeling um cherished. Maybe she feels like she's got an extra child with her husband. I mean, how sexy is that going to be? It's really not going to
Not
be.
so much.
And if she is feeling like a parent and then nagging and hassling, he's going to feel like he's got a mother. That's just not going to
Yeah.
work for him either. So bringing the polarity back in a relationship, and you don't have to have a conversation with your partner to bring it back. As in, you don't have to sit down and say, hey, let's talk polarity. By shifting your own energy, you can change things. And again, that comes back to a woman. Learn how to be in your feminine energy. If you find yourself doing the ABCs a lot with your man, advising, blaming, and criticizing, suggesting, giving advice, fixing his problems, nagging him when he doesn't, all of those things, then that's a great clue that you are just in your masculine energy. You'll feel annoyed with him, frustrated with him, turned off. When you stop doing that, and when you soften into your feminine energy, which is your feelings, the things that light you up in life, do what was it you used to do before you got busy with kids and career? Can you
Right.
fit in that dance class? Get into your body again. And, you know, start putting yourself first if you don't already. Because, you know, if you want to be the kind of woman that a man wants to pursue forever, then your life needs to be the prize, not just your marriage, just not just your children, not just the needs of other people, but actually we can show up as the best mothers, the best wives when we put ourselves first. So it feels like a long-winded way of talking about our libido and of talking about sex, but how turned on are you to your life? Rather than focusing on it on my husband and what he is or isn't doing, or what he's complaining that I'm not doing, it's like, where has that cherishing gone?
Right.
A man, I would say, the masculine energy, which is normally men, need to feel respected for their thinking. That's primarily, they want to be respected for their thinking. And the feminine energy needs to feel cherished for her feelings cherished. Now, of course, as women, we like our thoughts to be respected, but given a choice, if my man's going to cherish my feelings or respect my thinking, I want the feelings cherished because that's what makes me just feel
Right.
adored. And for a man, a woman can bring some polarity back into the relationship by stepping off the gas of advising and blaming and criticizing and just noticing when he does something and
Yes.
appreciating him for it.
It's so true because I feel like a lot of times in a marriage, especially if you've been married a long time, it's like if he does one nice thing here and there, you completely forget about it. But it's like, oh, you forgot to do this, and it's like constantly, and then you realize, wait, I'm just nagging and nagging and nagging.
Yeah.
And so that is very true. It's just taking that time and say, listen, I really appreciate it that you did this. And that goes both ways. I mean, the man
Mm.
needs to do that for a woman too, just constantly, I feel like showing appreciation and just having a passion for life will create a passion in your relationship. To day basis, just be happy that you're there and appreciate one another and not take each other for granted. And that just will evolve into, okay, I'm appreciated, so I'm loved. So then both of you will kind of soften. But it's very true. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of us as moms, I mean, I'm a lot like that is because you're constantly managing the whole household and you're managing the children, and then it's like that masculine energy. And that's what happens when I'm just with my husband one-on-one, or if we go on a date night, and I feel a complete different person when the two of us go on a trip together, because it's like I don't have to worry about the kids. I don't have to worry about all the to-do lists. And I can just bring out that feminine energy completely and just put that masculine energy away. So,
Yeah. And so many women say, well, if I give him a compliment, or if I appreciate him, he's just going to take me for granted, or he's just going to think he's doing enough. I hear that. And actually, and so I've heard women, and I think I've probably said this before years ago, it's like, oh, well, do you want a medal for that when he said he's done something?
yeah, that's
But
true.
it's remembering women, when men do things, they take out the trash, they fix the shelf that's broken, they're doing it for you. Yes, you both own the shelf and the trash is both of yours and the house is both of yours, but he is doing it for you. The more a man is appreciated, the more he grows. You'll
Yeah.
see his chest open. If you're at home and your man arrives home from work, meet him at the door. It isn't 1950s housewife stuff. This is just real, because that is you playing your part in the polarity here. And that is appreciating the masculine for who he is. Now, I'm not, there are obviously so many variations of relationships. And I'm talking about, you're a good woman and a good man, and you're in a relationship that is mostly pretty good, but you're just having your struggles and you've lost connection. But those things, if you can step up with the emotional maturity to go, actually, I am going to express appreciation. I'm going to be there with a hug and a kiss when he comes in. I'm going to look, I'm going to walk over to him. I'm going to just appreciate him for how hard he works for our family.
Okay.
I am going to tell him how good it feels to have him home, or to have him do this job in the garden, and just watch him grow. And what will magically happen, if he's a great guy and he's your guy and it's the right thing for you both, he is going to grow and want to cherish you even more. It's just the magic of polarity, but it just takes you to really pull
Make
on
that
your
step.
emotional maturity. Yes,
And
yes.
everybody could, I mean, everybody loves a greeting. Like I remember even just with my kids when they were young, you would go out for a second, you would come back and they would just sprint to the door. And that it was such a magical feeling. Like when I would open the door and I'd see like my son, my daughter just grab me or give me a hug or say, I miss you or I love you. And that just sets the tone for the rest of the evening. It changes everything versus he comes in, you don't even see him. And the moment he arrives in the kitchen, you're just yelling and complaining about what the child did or "Oh, you had a horrible day." And that just shifts everything, not in a positive energy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember a therapist telling me the effect on the brain it has when if someone has been very much in sort of fight or flight, their nervous system is really rattled, or they're very low, very depressed. She was saying to me, I mean, I don't know a lot about the brain, but she said you can grow the hippocampus in the brain, the hippocampus part of the brain, which is where you learn and
Right.
where you can really see the big picture. She said, by giving people loving looks, just giving someone a loving look when they walk into a room has an effect on the brain. And obviously, there's so much more we can learn about that. And I
It's
love
it's
that.
so easy and quick, right? It's so easy. Now, on another note, I know you've experienced this personally yourself. If a woman discovers infidelity in her relationship, should she forgive? And if she leaves, how can she learn to trust again in a new relationship?
So, should she forgive is really, there's no black and white answer for that, because there are no shoulds here. It's really down to the individual situation. Is he showing you with his actions that he really is sorry, and there is, both of you are willing to have change in your relationship? Because when infidelity happens, you either would have to grow and really grow as a couple, and your relationship is going to look different, whether you're together or whether you're not. So it either needs to grow into something deeper and more connected, or it will be a relationship full of resentment, or you leave. And to be able to explore with someone and to know if you will know if your man is kind of showing up in a different way. Is he willing to, has he been unfaithful before? If so, is he willing to go to therapy to really look at his pattern? Is he willing to do the work? Is he willing to hold space for your feelings? Is he willing to talk about it for as long as you need to? Is he like there and receptive? Or is he telling you should have got over it by now? For God's sake, don't be ridiculous.
Right.
You're just making a fuss. Do you feel cherished? Do you feel safe to be able to express your feelings? So really, whether you forgive or not is, you know, we can forgive someone and leave the relationship. I forgive my husband. We have a really good, very caring relationship now and co-parenting. I forgave years ago, but it doesn't mean I stay with him.
Right. Right.
And if a woman then divorces, I would say you can trust again when you learn to trust yourself. You know, do your learning. Drop into your instincts and go, what do I need? What do I need? Do I need some therapy? Do I need to take myself away on a retreat? Do I need, what books are you drawn to? What speakers are you drawn to? Grow as a human.
Yeah.
You know, so many women grow up to be strong on the outside, strong and armored on the outside, because inside we feel somewhat vulnerable and weak, and that doesn't feel good. So it's like I'm strong on the outside and I am going to protect all of that
Have
on
an
the inside.
armor. Yeah.
Yeah, armor or like a wall. And it's like we've got to hide that at all costs, that vulnerability. So what it feels like is you get together with someone first and your arms are wide open and you're like, just love all of me and just get to know me and climb over all my walls, but only come this close. This is like, this close feels okay.
Closest. Right. Right.
Yeah. And what happens then is we're going to attract people who only want that close, you know, because we're not going to be fully open. However, so when you learn how to become strong on the inside, then you don't need to wear your strength on the outside. When you're strong on the inside, you can be soft and feminine and vulnerable, and life can ebb and flow and do what it needs to do and do what life does do. It's full of beauty and terror and everything. And you know you're going to be okay no matter what. It's like the analogy I'd love to share with your listeners that I created for this is like an egg. You think of a raw egg. It's got its shell, but it's got to keep that shell intact, because if it breaks, it's insubstantial. It's like it
Right.
won't hold together. And I feel on a deep level, we feel that if we are too vulnerable, if he gets to know me too much, he's going to see what isn't substantial inside of me, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not worth loving on a deep level. But the opposite to that is like being a peach. You know, a peach has her seed of strength on the inside. On the outside, she's soft and juicy and just delicious and feminine, and everyone wants the peach in the fruit bowl, you know? And no matter what happens on the outside, she's got that strength on the inside. So, you know, that's what I would say. If you are recovering from infidelity, you know, find your people, find your tribe, find women who can really support you, and find that, you know, deep friendships, become that, learn how to become a peach, learn how to become strong on the outside so you can still keep that softness
Yes.
on the outside.
I absolutely love your analogy. I'm a visual person, and that was just the egg versus the peach. I love it. It's simple. I
Yeah.
totally got the visual. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now, how about online dating? It seems to be the new way these days. Do you think it works? What is your take on it? Any tips? Do you recommend it? Because it's really hard, I feel like. for any, I mean, not just for 40 and older, but I just feel like even with the younger generation, it's hard for people to meet people these days. I don't know if it's just a busy life. I don't know when people socialize, they're too much on the phone, so they're not even making connections when they go to activities or events, but it's like the new world.
Well, online dating, I see it and I say to women, it's okay not to like it. Online dating is a vehicle to getting what you want, it's not the destination. So it's really okay not to love online dating. However, I say to women, online dating is a window and you need to be visible. If you want to meet the love of your life, you need to be visible to him. And dating apps are fantastic windows. You know, you get to be visible to a lot of people who are looking for romantic connection. It's not always the connection you'll want. However, there are so many people wanting the kind of connection that you will be wanting. So online dating can be part of the whole dating for you. If you've got a fantastic social life, really strong community, you're meeting lots of different people, then hey, you may not need online dating. However, nowadays I find, and I remember meeting guys online, I met my partner online, and all of my clients who are married and in long-term relationships now met their partners online. And I spoke to a man and I said to him, actually, my partner, I said to him, would you have approached me if we were at a party or at an event? Would you have asked me out? And he said, no. He said, not because I wouldn't have been attracted to you, but he said, I wouldn't have known if maybe you were attached, not attached. He said, I just too many variables and I wouldn't have. And a number of men said that. So online dating, immediately you are connecting with people, most of whom are single and looking for a connection. So already you're in the right place. And I would say the thing with online dating is be serious about looking for a great relationship, but don't take online dating too seriously. If you're chatting with a guy, messaging, and he suddenly disappears, next,
Right.
let him go. You know, we spend a lot of time getting tied up in knots, getting upset about things like that, because we get attached to the idea of somebody. And I think that's what online dating can do. We get attached to the idea of someone. We can get emotionally attached to a guy's photos and a few texts with him. And suddenly we've built this idea of this incredible guy. So
Right.
one of my biggest tips with online dating, and I work with a very specific dating structure, but one of them is do not message for too long. Don't be still messaging a week later with someone that you haven't even spoken to or video called with. Have, you know, just, you can let him know, I just don't feel so great texting for too long. It starts to
Right.
feel imaginary. That's what I said to guys, because it did. It felt imaginary, and then you're disappointed when you meet them because
Right.
you've
That's so
created a
true.
prince in your
Because
mind.
you're creating this like imaginary person in your head, right? For so long, it's like reading a story. You just have this complete different person that you're kind of making up as you go along. So you're right. And then you will be
Mhm.
disappointed once you
Yeah.
meet them in person.
It sabotages your chances then of really meeting your partner, because you will start getting burnt out and you will get fed up with dating, and you will just feel you'll be on this emotional roller coaster. Whereas just having that, keeping your eyes on the prize, and the prize is the relationship you want. The guys on there are not the prizes. They're not, it's not an app full of prizes. It's just an app full of guys who could potentially be great partners for you. And also to remember, you know, if you are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and accepting anyone who's been widowed from a great relationship, but if you're not in a great relationship, then I want you to take on the idea you don't know your type. Because if you did know your type, you would be with them and married and in a great relationship already. That actually we need to relearn our type, and online dating can be amazing for that, because all your old patterns will be there online, and you will find yourself drawn to all of them like a moth to
Right.
a flame. If you can catch yourself doing that,
Doing it, right.
and again, it comes to that self-awareness. If you can go, oh my goodness, I'm
I'm
doing the
doing it
same
again.
thing. He's just the same kind of guy in different clothes. It's a familiar feeling. Then you can start just getting curious about dating guys who are not normally your type and going, okay. And another piece of advice I would give is say, chemistry very rarely leads to compatibility, but compatibility can absolutely grow in chemistry. So are you choosing compatibility first and then getting curious and seeing if chemistry can grow? Or are you choosing chemistry first and just having your fingers crossed, hoping compatibility will grow?
Right, right.
And that having those distinctions for yourself, it's going to make dating feel so much more effortless. You'll start to be able to discern, is this man great partnership material? Or is he just triggering my nervous system?
That's great advice. So, last question. When you're in a challenging relationship that seems to be getting progressively more complicated, more heavy, how can you determine whether it's time to leave or continue to work on it? Especially like, I mean, if you're in a long marriage, like you've been married for 30 years and you've had 3 kids, and you just feel like, wait, if I leave now, have I wasted all my time, or who am I? How am I gonna go? And I just feel like that's hard too, especially when you're at a certain age and you're so afraid. You haven't dated for so long, you've been married forever. But how do you know if you need to invest, like, or how much time do you keep giving it? See the marriage therapist, keep talking, keep trying to figure it out. Because I've seen it sometimes in relationships or my clients where they're just going through the same cycle over and over and over again. And I'm just like, when are you going to kind of make a decision? Either you guys are going to move forward and really work on this, or you're going to just call it quits. But this cycle isn't even good for the children either.
Mm. Um, it's kind of understanding that in a relationship, we have a whole load of relationships happening. We've got his relationship with himself and her relationship with herself, her relationship with him, his relationship with her, and all the interpretations and all the kind of the triggers and everything that goes along with that. And then we have the relationship itself, which is like bigger than the sum of its parts. When I get together with you, what kind of relationship do we create? And does that relationship feed us? You could be the loveliest person in the world. I'm the loveliest person in the world. But if what we both bring to a relationship does not sustain us, does
Right.
not meet our relational needs, then actually, is this relationship great for either of us? But, as well, first off, it takes stepping off the high horse that we can get on. It takes humbling ourselves sometimes and going, okay, what can I be responsible for in the breakdown of our marriage? Not that I'm responsible for the whole thing. And that was the question I asked myself. When I discovered my husband's affair and got over the initial shock, I said, okay, Naomie, what is my responsibility in the breakdown of our marriage up to the point he chose to have an affair? Because it's not all my
Right.
responsibility, and I'm not responsible for his choice. But yes, I was there in that marriage. So if you can ask yourself that and say, well, what am I responsible for? This is how I showed up. Because believe me, if you don't look at it now, you'll take it with you to the next relationship.
So
And
true.
I would say we all have baggage, but just make sure yours can fit under the seat. Are you lugging a shipping container around with you from one marriage, then to the next relationship? Or with the father of your children, are you there looking at each other vulnerably? And that may be whoever's listening, you're the one to start the vulnerability rather than waiting and getting angry with him for not, to actually say, okay, this is where I feel I was responsible in this state we've got to. And I want to learn more about how to not do that. Because you're investing in your ability to be in a great relationship, whether it's with him or with somebody else. So, and then you know what? You will know if that person's willing to come along with you.
Right.
Are they willing to grow as well?
Are you guys on the same journey, the same pathway?
Yes. But it takes one of you to step off that kind of drama triangle, you know, the victim, the persecutor, rescuer. It's his fault. He does this to me, poor me. If, you know, being a victim is so seductive, we all do it and we've all done it in relationships. But if you can be the one to step off that.
And you, like you said, be humble, then that you can actually
Yeah.
see what's happening.
Yes. Yes. It's magic. It's magic what happens to relationships when we are humble and when we take responsibility and when we're accountable. It invites vulnerability. Not everyone accepts the invitation, but then you just get your information.
Right. Wow, we have talked about so many things, Naomie. Today, you have sincerely inspired us to believe that every woman can find love. You have emphasized that if we desire love, we can achieve it. It's not about failing at love, but instead about overcoming a lack of self-awareness and self-love. Understanding that our vulnerability is our greatest strength and a powerful magnet for deep connected love that we seek is crucial. We will attract the love we believe we deserve, so it's essential to love and respect ourselves. This self-love, self-acceptance, and responsibility for our emotional needs clears the path to intimacy and connection we deeply need. Whether nurturing a current relationship or searching for a new one, embracing this principle can make us more open and receptive. And don't forget, you can find love after the age of 40. Thank you, Naomie, for joining me on Female Fluence. Is there anything else you would like to share with us today?
Well, you know, just really, I want to say so many people think that they fail at love. And I want to say that you cannot fail at love. You either keep going and get the love you want, or you stop and you give up, you know? And the reason I'm here and the reason you're here, Pearl, is that we refuse to let anyone in our world give up, you know? There is nothing special about any of you that excludes you from love.
Right.
Deep down, sometimes we can think there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. There's something different about me. I'm not that kind of girl that gets all the cherishing. You are that kind of girl. You are that kind of girl, and you can. So you either keep going and keep growing and keep learning, or you give up. And we're here as a stand that you don't give up.
Love that. Listeners, I hope you're all hearing this and taking away with the fact that you can never fail at love, and it's up to you. Thank you so much. All the links will be included in my show notes. Please check it out so you can follow Naomie. She has great advice, her Instagram, her TikTok, everything. It's just really inspiring and helps us all feel that we can all find love and continue loving ourselves and loving each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for tuning in today to Female Fluence. Together we can influence and motivate other mind-like females. Your job is to feel alive, be in control, and always be true to your own self. Please don't forget to subscribe so you can continue feeling inspired. All the links and notes from this episode will be posted on my website, femalefluence.com. Don't forget to also follow me at Female Fluence on both Instagram and Facebook. Lastly, if you are in need of a woman empowerment life coach to help you identify the barriers that keep you from living the life you seek, please send an email to info@femalefluence.org. Remember, my friends, don't just exist, but live your life to the fullest. I'm your host, Pearl Mashur. Until we talk next time.